The department, I see you outlined your continued support to Cork City and Limerick City and County Councils, which naturally enough is welcome. But in the meantime, in line with commitment to the new housing plan, delivering homes, building communities, your team is developing a revised social housing estate regeneration programme. This programme will be available to all local authorities and should be rolled out in early 2027, which again is very welcome and very important. As regards other local authorities, the likes of Clare local authority, how are we going to benefit out of that? Again, one of the big issues we have in Clare, as we're well aware, is pyrite, and we have a number of housing developments affected by pyrite. Will pyrite come under that rollout? So maybe give an update what can be achieved from that rollout of funding.
Unfortunately, Deputy, pyrite and defective concrete blocks won't be covered under the regeneration programme. That'll be funded under a separate funding stream through the department. But in terms of the revised programme, it's going to focus on an estate by estate approach, call for proposals from local authorities, and we've been engaging quite comprehensively with local authorities, trying to sort of gauge some level of demand across local authorities, including Clare County Council very recently, Cavan County Council, Mon and Westmeath, and we'd be surprised if there wasn't at least one local authority estate that wouldn't come in very quickly from each local authority. But when we speak to the likes of Cavan, Westmeath, Longford, they're already talking about 2 or 3 social housing estates that immediately spring to mind for support. So again, you know, it's very much in the early stages of development, but what we're looking at is funding the regeneration of homes in those estates. That'll be public homes and private homes where they may have been public homes and they may have been sold to private tenants. We'll fund that. Some element of public groundworks, larger scale environmental reimagining where there are larger scale works needed in the estate to deal with antisocial behaviour and the restructuring of those estates, and some element of community facilities and supports. Again, the extent and the scale of that level of support is to be worked out, because we aren't the only funder in that space.
And have any idea what type of funding is going to be invested into these projects?
It will depend very much, I would suggest, Deputy, on the scale of the projects coming through. We're dealing with 2 or 3 local authorities in terms of trying to identify the scale and types of supports that are going to be needed. When you deal with one, you're looking at somewhere between 2 to 10 million for a particular estate. For another, you could be looking at maybe 20 million. You could be looking at 30 million. So it'll depend case by case.
But the most important thing is it's going to be rolled out in 2027. There will be a funding available for local authorities to make applications, and hopefully be progress onwards and upwards. For some of these states, that's well gone by their sell by date and needs to be brought up to a decent standard. Am I right in saying that? Yes,
and I suppose, Deputy, it recognises the fact that while the investment in Limerick and Cork and Dublin and Dundalk and Kerry and Sligo has been, you know, hugely impactful, there are other areas around the country and other local authority housing estates that are in desperate need of investment, and it's to ensure that there's an equitable distribution of that funding across the country.
That's very important, and we can see what has been achieved both in Limerick and Cork City, in fairness. Thank you.